Oh, well, now it's recording. I knew I was going to do that. Um, but, you know, even just missing these, I'm not going to penalize you as long as you end up watching them regardless. That's, I understand other classes, you'll probably have your hands full. And that's not to say this class isn't important, but I've come to the realization that as far as like virtual learning, which is what we're doing here, I think history is probably the easiest class to adapt to virtual learning, at least in the way I teach it. Lecturing is pretty easy to do, whether it's online or face to face. Obviously, I'd much rather be face to face doing an actual classroom environment, but it's not a huge adjustment for me. I understand classes like math and English and science will probably be a little more transformational and maybe more stressful. So I'm going to try and keep this as simple and as basic as and stress free as possible. So you're just going to answer like one question each day. You will answer it after the lecture. You can answer it in the middle of the night. I don't care. It'll all go on one Word document each week. You'll get a one Word document each week, and it'll be a short answer, a quick short answer. I also highly recommend doing these not only for the attendance, but because I will still end up giving a test at the end of the chapter. And even if these questions aren't directly from the notes, like now will be the time when I am able to start testing you over things I said as well as things I had on the notes. Because now you can actually pay closer attention to the things I say because you can go back and rewatch them. So also be sure to pay attention to the things I say on top of it, because today's essential question is not answered directly in the notes. It's answered in what I plan on talking about. So that's the plan. We've got, what, 6 or 7 weeks. So I want us to finish strong. If you ever have any questions or any issues, please reach out. Let me know. I've talked to some students, tried to clear things up. But I think it'll be all right. I understand this is super stressful, and I empathize with you guys. Some of you, I don't know, may still be working or maybe having to take care of siblings around the house while parents work. I understand that. I sympathize with that. You know, if there's anything I can do to ease things or to make things easier for you, please let me know, and I'll do my best to appease those. I will, really no class is allowed to go more than 30 minutes each day. So this will at the latest be done by 11:30. That's all the time I can get, but at the same time, I mean, you guys know when I do question of the day, I barely get 30 minutes of lecture anyway, so, you know, that shouldn't be a real big deal, actually. So I'm going to go ahead. If you guys would take out a notebook or a way to take notes, I'm going to go ahead and start the lecture here. We're going to start on World War II. And I'm going to upload this as soon as it's over. Like, this thing will end at 11:30. 11:35, I will upload the video up onto Classroom. So if you missed something, please go back. You can pause this and you can write the notes. And because of the situation we're in, I'm not going to discriminate on notes. Anything in black ink, I think you should write. World War II and world history is kind of, in how I teach it, is kind of the opposite of World War I. I don't do a ton of detail. This lecture is less than half the size of World War I, which is weird because World War II is like the most common, most popular of global conflicts, but I teach in a way that it's so directly impacted by World War I, which we already went into great detail about, that I try not to be too repetitive and repeat everything. So, causes of World War II. This is not there's no catchy acronym like MAIN of World War I. There's a handful of different causes. The basics being political instability and devastation of national economies, especially in Europe, but really all over the world. As a result of World War I. So, following World War I, there's a lot of war debt to be owed. If you think back, remember the War Guilt Clause, Article 231, about Germany owing the Allies basically all the penalties of war. Well, that becomes near impossible. That actually becomes directly impossible for them to pay, just because of how handcuffed they were due to the penalties of World War I. Not being able to deploy a military, not being able to make weapons, not being able to, or being basically shunned from the rest of the world from trade. Their economy was decimated. And so, late 1920s, the Social Democrats rose to power, which is a political party in Germany. And those Social Democrats, that party eventually becomes known as the Nazi Party. So that's who we're talking about here. But so Adolf Hitler leads the Social Democrats, and Germany's circling the drain economically. They're having a ton of trouble. And he convinces America, which the US then convinces France and Britain, he convinces them to put a pause on their war, on their debts. He says Germany cannot survive if we are continuously, kept in the debt of other countries. Said we need to take some time to rebuild our own economy for us to even be able to pay off our debt. And the U.S. agreed, yeah, that's probably fair, because us not getting paid is having a negative impact on us anyway. So they put the U.S. put I can't remember if it was either 10 or 15-year suspension on German war payments, war debts, so they could take time to rebuild their economy. The thought was they rebuild their economy, 10 or 15 years, they are able to resume payments, and we all end up making money and we're all improved. Problem was that was never the Germans' intention. As Germany would end up using that money that they would have otherwise spent to the Allies, using that on building up weapons and their military. So that's how Germany ends up kind of eking by. Hopefully you guys have heard about or heard of the Great Depression, which hit in the 20s and 30s. That was not just in the United States, that hit all over the world. Inflation was a result. Inflation means that there's an oversupply of money. When you have too much of something, it becomes of less value. So when you print a lot of money, that ends up just making the money itself less valuable. $1 means a lot less when you have a lot of it. Well, we had an influx of money, and the value ends up plummeting. And then that leads to massive unemployment. All around the world, businesses can't afford to have workers. And then when people can't get a job, then they stop making money. And when you stop making money, you stop spending money. And when you stop spending money, the economy gets at a standstill, and it starts to, it hurts the whole country. And then, in effect, hurts the whole world. You'll get more into that next year from an American perspective, but we'll just go with that for right now. And then there's just kind of an awkward feeling out process between the Allies and Germany. Like Hitler rises to power, and he unites a shattered German empire, and because the Allies, especially the U.S. and Britain, they felt bad for how decimated Germany was after World War I. So they felt kind of relieved when Hitler rises to power and he unifies the Germans, and Germany looks like it's got its strength back. And they supported it. They thought, okay, good. They kind of take some of the guilt off of our shoulders. He's brought them back, so no big deal. Then Hitler starts asking for stuff, and Allies are so happy that Germany's happy. They're like, yeah, sure, you can take half of Poland, or you can have influence over half of Poland. They don't matter anyways. So that was a sign of things to come. So we're going to spend quite a bit of time talking about a political ideology known as fascism. Fascism is a political philosophy in which total power is given to a dictator and individual freedoms are denied. That is a very basic and plain vanilla definition. Fascism is a system in which the leader puts all power into elite hands. And that's not going to make a lot of sense right now, but I'll explain it. So first of all, we're going to go over what a dictator is. I hope, have all heard of the term dictator, a person who rules with total authority, often in a cruel manner. Dictators are almost always associated with people of criminal rule, poor treatment to their people. So fascism requires a dictator, kind of like communism requires a dictator, and certain forms of socialism. Now, some people often wonder what's the difference between fascism and communism. Think about the fact that communism is the equality of all people, right? It requires a dictator, but it's based on equality of all people. Fascism is a dictatorship that forces inequality. Like fascism is technically the exact opposite of communism. In communism, everybody's equal. Fascism, there is a direct elite. Like there are people better than others. They're at least seen through the eyes of the government. And if you need an example, look no further than Nazi Germany. Nazi Germany is fascist. Their idea of fascism is pure blood, blonde hair, blue-eyed Germans. Those are the elites. Those are the ones that have all the power. They are seen as the top of the food chain. So if you have a top, you have to have a bottom. Who's the bottom of the ladder in Nazi Germany? Jewish people. Like that's fascism. There is an absolute hierarchy, a ranking system basically. So that's what makes fascism different from socialism and communism and all that stuff. Okay, examples of fascist leaders. We have Adolf Hitler of Germany, obviously. he pushed the agenda through Germany of, you know, Protestant, whole-blooded Germans were the elites, and then Jews being non-elite. A man named Benito Mussolini of Italy. Now, he kind of gets fascism started. He may have actually introduced Hitler to it. Mussolini was actually a socialist in World War I in Italy, which socialism would be a near opposite of fascism. He leaves the Socialist Party of Italy. He becomes prime minister, and then he just kind of usurps power. He takes power from the rest of the government, and the rest is history. He institutes a, pure-blooded Italian regime where anybody who wasn't a part of that was seen as inferior and not worthy. And there's a graphic image of actually his death. His people turn on him at the end of World War II, and he is hung upside down and has like just a small cut put in his forehead, and he ends up bleeding out. It's pretty gruesome, pretty wicked. I am starting to wonder why I put that picture on here, but oh well. Okay, now Japan is interesting because I'll include them in this just because they were allies along with Germany and Italy, but they weren't really fascists. They were. So they have two major leaders: the emperor, whose name is Hirohito, and their major general of the army or of the navy, Hideki Tojo. Now in Japan society there was a clear hierarchy. There was an elite, and there was a undesirable. But I wouldn't really call them fascists, but they were probably close enough. So those are the two leaders of Japan at the time, and they're both going to be important at the end of World War II. They're both going to play a big role in what happens post Second World War. But these countries, these three countries, Italy, Germany, and Japan, all create the alliance known as the Axis powers. Definitely know that. Definitely have that written down. Those three countries. Now, there's other smaller countries that join in on the fun, but those are the three major ones: Italy, Germany, and Japan. So that's different. So in World War I, the two sides are the Allies and the Central Powers. In World War II, it's going to be the Allies versus the Axis powers. So don't get confused on that. There will be the Allies, but there will not be the Central Powers in this. There will be just the Axis powers. So that leads us to our essential question. Today's essential question is, what makes fascism different from communism? Probably not written down, but I highly recommend going back, if you need to, going back and watching, when I upload this, watching that slide again, listening, because I do answer specifically. Also, another idea that I just had, a great idea would be to write down these questions and answers in your notes. This will be an open note test, by the way. I would for sure write these questions and answers in your notes, as I will probably include a couple, if not all, of these essential questions on the test, and you will have literally the question and answer already written down. So I recommend doing that. Yeah, today's essential question: what makes fascism different from communism? Mostly it's in how the people, not necessarily are treated, but how they're viewed. How are the citizens of communism viewed versus the citizens of a fascist regime? Okay. So that's today's lecture. I'm going to call her good. 5 minutes to spare. Got to where I wanted to go. is there any questions, issues, comments? You can type them in. There's a group chat if you go down there. Was the video or audio like choppy today at all? Was there any kind of issues with that? I know my internet here really sucks, so I'm kind of at a crossroads with that. But yeah, if there's any critiques, I'm all ears. Okay. Finley, I'll upload this as soon as I close. This will be uploaded on a Classroom. You can go back and rewatch it. So I'll just do that. Hey, if there's nothing else, I'll let you guys go. Caden wants a daily question. We got about 4 minutes. Would you write down stuff that you lecture on that aren't on the slides? So yeah, that's a good question, Corey. Would you write down? I would, if you can, such as like I talked about the difference between fascism and communism. This way, since you have the ability to go back and watch to slow things down and go back and catch some stuff, I think you should try to. I think that'd be good, especially. I know you're only sophomores in high school, but it's a good exercise to practice because that's exactly what college professors expect from students, depending on what your future career path is. But professors will for sure will expect of you to be able to write down what you see as well as what you hear. So I would look into trying that. Well, hey, I appreciate everybody logging on. Remember, I'll open this back up again on Thursday. You guys can come tune in then. Maybe I can try and get a question of the day in on Thursday. But all other days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, I will just upload the video. You can watch it on your own time at any time. I'll try and upload it like, by 9 or 10 in the morning. And get that to you guys, and you guys will still answer the questions. Again, you can wait till Friday to answer all 5 questions. I wouldn't recommend it because that's 5 lectures. You'll have to watch, but I will collect by 6 o'clock every Friday night during the week, and you'll have, and be sure you write out the question as well as the answer so I can see what you're talking about. But all right, guys. Hey, I appreciate you guys checking in. Hit me up with anything you need. Do they just answer the question as a comment in Classroom? No, I uploaded a document. All right, I just posted an assignment, like right before the video started. Just posted an assignment. You'll need to create a Google Doc. That's all you have to do. Click create a Google Doc and then type in the answers. Type in the question and the answers, and then on Friday, turn it in. Okay. But let's see. All right, perfect. 29. We good? Good? Okay. Well, I don't have time. I have to let you guys go by 11:30. Like, that's the rule. We can't have you more than 30 minutes.
Well, just have me out. I want to talk to you. I miss you.
Sorry, man. Busy. I got grown-up stuff to do. I'll get you guys on Thursday. I'll think of one, or you guys hit me up with one of the two.
When you aren't a grown-up, you don't have grown-up things to do.
Yeah, I gotta get stuff ready for teaching. I got American history I gotta run with at 1 or 2 or something. Yeah, and I've got to play PlayStation at some point today. I've got to get my me time.
Love the background, bro.
Thank you. Office for Life. All right, guys. Hey, I'll see you guys on Thursday. Have a good week. Good luck with all your classes. Take care.